Pretty pictures from Stan Sayers Pits. Also awards to be given out. Let's go to the presentation stage.
Practice.
Hi, I'm Angela Guidry with Revlon. Revlon is proud to be the sponsor of the General Motors Cup at Sea Fair Crew Chief Award. On behalf of Revlon, I would like to congratulate Ken Dryden and the Miss Pico crew on demonstrating exemplary leadership and teamwork. Congratulations.
Thank you. Now, this award really needs to go to all the guys that work on the boat. They work extra hard. When we crash a boat and need to get it in the next heat, they're right there. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ken Dryden, a well-deserved award for Ken Dryden. As for all of these crew members, worked so hard to get these boats ready. Bill Wixie is down with some of those crew members working on boats. Bill?
All right, a little bit of breaking news down here, and I do mean breaking. You see the damage to the Hop Racing boat here. Jerry Hop, you say you're done for the day.
Yeah, the boat's done. It's probably repairable, but when I hooked out there and got into Appian, the side of Appian, it was a pretty violent collision, and I banged my knee up pretty bad. I might have tore some cartilage. I don't know. It's ice bags and ice packs, and see how it goes. But I'm just having trouble walking. Period.
You got to be pleased for your son, though. He's having a heck of a day.
Yeah, we brought a TV down. So we're watching KIRO and watching the whole race. So I sat there and watched him drive that heat. It was great. Come through the middle like that and take York on the outside. What a beautiful race.
What will it take for Greg to take down the Bud today?
A decent start. I think he's got to be in lane one to beat the Bud. I don't think he can take him on the outside.
Jerry, I appreciate you hobbling over here and chatting with us today. And we have to set the record straight, by the way. Jerry is 52 years old. Not 59 as previously reported. He made sure to let me know that, guys. Back up to you.
Well, I apologize because I've got the wrong number written down up here, Jerry. So again, our apologies. 7 years younger, still a fine driver. Thank you, and thanks for watching Channel 7. Glad it's on in the truck down there. Meantime, we had a very busy day down here in the pits yesterday. Sure, the Blue Angels have been rehearsing and practicing, but also the Unlimited Lights have been running, and they ran yesterday. A great day of racing if you like noise and like the lights. Here's Bill Rocky with more on that.
Steve, I was over in the Tri-Cities last week and I saw the lights over there. They put on a great show. They did the same yesterday here on Lake Washington. Now, what's the big difference between the lights and the Unlimiteds? The biggest difference is the sound of their engines. Although they don't go quite as fast,
it's a lot of the same things that you would look for in the Unlimited.
There is no lack of excitement when the Unlimited Lights are out on the course.
There's a lot of people that like these because of the noise.
They are loud, and most of their heats are very competitive. The Lights have their own unique personality compared to the turbine-powered Unlimiteds.
They have a lot of speed. They're going 200 miles an hour at the straightaway. We're going about 145, 150. And just the cost, the volume, the crew size, the propellers, their propellers cost about $15,000 each. Ours cost about $1,500 each. And that's the general scale of things.
Can we get this wire through to the front?
It's always a team effort when one of the light boats is on the trailer. Alamo driver Bo Scheid had a little engine trouble over in Tri-Cities. He was right in the thick of things with his crew, trying to get it fixed.
We're racing today, so we got to make the next heat. So we're working hard to make sure we get out there.
You've got 7 or 8 boats that go out there, and depending on what lane you get, what kind of start, it's real competitive, and you never know who might win.
Wiggins has learned a lot about winning this year. In fact, he took the checkered flag for the 4th time this season in the final over in the Tri-Cities. Now, Steve, there's a couple things I can add to this. The Alamo's for sale. I offered it to Tony yesterday. It's up for $240,000. If you're interested, you and Tony can get into a bidding war, maybe get into racing lights.
I think not, Bill, but thanks so much for the thought anyway.
I thought I'd offer it to you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Well, we've got the lights ready to run some heats, and we taped those yesterday, and with the story on the lights, here's Mike Fitzsimmons.
Yeah, we sure did. We had a great race yesterday. It was a little bit on the cloudy side. The water was rough. We had a little bit of wind to contend with, but just as Bill had reported, the lights were very, very exciting. Let's take a look at how things turned out yesterday. Heat 1A of the General Motors Cup at Seafair for Unlimited Lights, won by the Pocket Mechanic, driven by Phil Bonancini from nearby Issaquah. He took the measure of the second boat, the Aquatropic. Dave Bender from El Dorado, California, coming in second. The Compare, the Vino.com, and the Emerald Casino, bad luck for them, unable to finish. The 1999 Unlimited Lights Heat 1A, presented for Seafair by Hooters, your neighborhood beach themes restaurant. Congratulations to Phil Bonancini, winner of Heat 1A. Heat 1B of the 1999 General Motors Cup at Seafair for Unlimited Lights saw the Alamo and the Freddy's Club hook up for a good duel. The Alamo with Bo Scheid driving, however, came out on top. Freddy's Club had a bit of a problem and got out of it a little bit on the early side. Second place for the Freddy's, third place for the Graham Trucking with Jerry Hopp driving. Supercuts presents the Apex Laser was unable to finish, and ditto that the Ted's Red Apple Market and Rick Bridgman. The 1999 Unlimited Lights Heat 1B is presented for Seafair by Graham Trucking. Let us take a load off. And congratulations to Bo Scheid and the Alamo. Heat 2A of the General Motors Cup at Seafair for Unlimited Lights saw the Alamo and Pocket Mechanic hook up. The Pocket Mechanic, however, was not able to beat the big yellow boat from Fort Lauderdale. Alamo and Bo Scheid were the winners. Second, Pocket Mechanic with Phil Bonancini. Third, the Aquatropic with Dave Bender. The Supercuts presents Apex Laser was not able to make a start. Engine problems robbed that boat of any performance all day. The Emerald Casino boat also did not start. Heat 2A of the 1999 Unlimited Lights Heat, presented for Seafair by Sickle Steel Crane. Quality service since 1937. And congratulations, Bo Scheid, 2 in a row. Heat 2B of the General Motors Cup at Seafair saw the Freddy's Club, the Unlimited Lights division, take the lead and take it forever. Everyone going away against the Comp Air with Randy Haas driving from Cincinnati, and Ted's Red Apple Market with Rick Bridgman, who made a great start but just couldn't hang on to the speed after the first turn. The Vino.com and the Graham Trucking had a few problems. Graham finished. The Vino.com was unable to make the fleet. Heat 2B of the 1999 Unlimited Lights, presented for Seafair by Cavanaugh's on 5th Avenue, official hotel of Seafair. And congratulations to the Freddy's Club and Charlie Wiggins. So Bo Scheid, Charlie Wiggins, and Phil Bonancini were ready to face off in the final heat. The skies grew dark. We had a thunderstorm brewing. We also had some great racing coming up. Here's the final. This is for all the marbles, the 1999 General Motors Cup at Seafair, the Unlimited Lights division, and the boats are inside the 1 minute countdown period. Almost off plane, Scotty. They're trying to creep and see if they can get the inside lane. It looks as though the blue boat is going to be the one that's going to do that, the Comp Air. It appears as though, and that's not the particular blue boat I'm talking about. That one's the Graham Trucking, and he's going to stay back just a little bit and outside. But the Comp Air, it looks like, that's the one that's to the left of your screen now. It looks like Randy Haas from Cincinnati is going to try to grab that inside lane. He has kept Bo Scheid to the outside shot. Looks like he'll take the 3 lane for the start, and possibly even the 4. Now he goes outside to the 4, and it looks like the second lane is going to be Charlie Wiggins and the Freddy's Club. The Pocket Mechanic lane 3. Lane 4 will be the Graham. Now lane 5 will be the Alamo, and coming on the outside, the 38 boat, the Aquatropic. Here they come to the line. We'll see if they're on time or too soon. Looked like we had an okay start there, and leading them across is the big red boat, and that is the Pocket Mechanic with Phil Bonancini from Issaquah out front.
Well, he was real close to the line. It'd be interesting to see if he was legal or not.
May have been a jumper. We'll hold and see what happens. Randy Haas on the inside, though, giving no quarter in the Comp Air, but he's got a couple of yellow boats outside of him that are coming on strong right now down the back chute, both the Freddy's and the Alamo working him.
I'm surprised the Alamo went that far out. I know he thinks he's faster, but boy, did he give up a lot of real estate. He's going to have a heck of a long way to haul this thing.
He definitely did think he was faster, and he was probably incorrect about that. Tight corner now with the Comp Air on the inside, pressing the... Charlie Wiggins has eaten lots of water through the upper turn there, but he seems to have survived it to come down. Here comes the Pocket Mechanic across the line first. It's the Comp Air second. It's the Freddy's Club riding rough third place, and now just drawing alongside the Freddy's Club. Here comes the Alamo, as you see to the left of your screen there. Those two are really going at it, but Bonancini seeing all that in the rear view mirrors. He's getting a rough ride, but he seems to be handling it okay.
He is handling extremely well, but I really like the job Randy Haas is doing. He is hanging in there very, very tough, and they're putting it to the two favorites.
No question about it. He is a tenacious driver. That's the one thing you can be sure of. He just keeps coming back like a bad penny, but it looks like they found a few extra beans in that pocket mechanic because he's stretching. But there you see Randy will give him absolutely no quarter. He's coming on it pretty strong as he gets into turn 2. He's going to press him into the corner. Let's see how he comes out of it. We got a great battle up there. There's the pocket mechanic coming out of the turn, right inside of him. There he is, Randy Haas in the comp air. This is a nice tight race. And Randy came out on top.
Beautiful, beautiful turn. They almost touched at the apex of the corner, and he just pushed his way through there, and he's on his way to a boat race.
Yeah, that Cincinnati kid is a boat driver, no question about it. There's Randy Haas in the brand new boat, the Comp Air. And just to his outside, still right with him, Bill Bonazzini. Bonazzini's got to go around the long way, but he's going to have to keep his foot in it if he's going to chase him down, because we are on the last lap now.
Looks like we lost the Alamo. I didn't see where he went down, but it's got worse for him.
Yeah, he's on the front straightaway, and he's out of it. In third place, it is the Freddy's Club, but take a look at Bonazzini.
Here we go.
Regained. This is going to be a drag race to the finish. This is going to be an outstanding finish now.
Now he needs to hold him in tight, which he's doing. He's doing it.
And unfortunately, the bad news is that Bonazzini doesn't know that he has jumped the gun, so he is not going to be your winner. The blue and white one will be, even though the two of them have had one great boat racing experience. Bonazzini boats across first and appears to be the winner, but he is not. He was a gun jumper, so your winner is actually the Comp Air, the inside boat.
That was a whale of a boat race, and both those guys did a good job. I suspected he was over. It looked to me like he was at least two boat legs over, but he was excited. He's a hometown boy. It was a hometown race, and he'll be telling all the neighbors at home how he coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah, coulda, woulda, shoulda. And unfortunately, the inside boat, the guy kept his nose clean at the start, kept the throttle when he needed to, was your winner. So the blue and white is your winner. The Comp Air, the red boat, unfortunately jumped the gun, and that means that the bad news is going to get delivered to Bonazzini when he gets back to the beach, that despite the fact that he led it across the line at the final there, he actually isn't your winner.
Well, Randy, that was very, very exciting. Were you aware that Bonazzini had jumped the gun?
No, I wasn't, and I knew Phil was right in there, and he was holding me in as tight as he could to the pins. But I didn't know that he jumped the gun.
It looked like he almost touched at the apex up on the north end of the corner, and you just charged through there. How close was it?
You probably couldn't have got your finger between us, but at that point it didn't make any difference.
Well, you got to be happy with the performance of your new boat, and the win in Seattle I know was special for me. How special is it for you?
It's very special. You know what? We could have won anywhere, but this is especially special, and it's been a tough road this year. We blew the boat over first shot out of the box, busted everything up. I guess we're building a new boat one piece at a time.
Well, you did a great job, and congratulations on your win.
Thank you. I want to thank Wizards Casino here in town. I want to thank Comp Air Leroy and our crew. Man, without the crew, we've been thrashing, and Bud Gilbert. I got to thank everybody. I can't thank enough people.
Well, you did a great job, and those sponsors certainly come in handy.
Thank you.
July 11th, Detroit, Michigan, the Yankee Stadium of unlimited hydroplane racing. After a 3-year hiatus, Chip Hanauer made a triumphant return to Detroit, winning the Chrysler Jeep APBA Gold Cup. Hanauer, driving the Miss Pico, led from the start, holding off the Miss Budweiser for his 11th career Gold Cup victory. The win places Hanauer 1 win away from Bill Muncie's all-time career win record of 62.
We'd like to thank Pemco Insurance for being part of our Seafair 99 coverage. Pemco Insurance, your home for the new millennium, now celebrating their 50th year.
As we're getting close to Heat 3A, one of the boats scheduled to run is the Appian Geronimo, and Bill Wixie is in the pits as they've made some repairs to that boat, Bill.
An absolutely amazing job by the Appian Geronimo crew. If you see the side of the boat here, you'll see that it's all taped up with duct tape and aluminum sheet metal. I mean, it's just really amazing how they have damaged that punctured boat. They got it running. Now the key for Mitch Evans is to get in the top 3 and qualify for that final. We'll see what happens, guys.
We will. They're all hoping the tape holds down in the Appian Geronimo pit at least. Back in just a couple of minutes. Heat 3A could be a preview of the final. We'll be back.
Do you really
A summer afternoon on Seattle's Lake Washington. The water begins to churn and drivers know that anything can happen. Now they have a choice. Play it careful and safe. Play for second. Or go for broke and play to win. Who really wants it? We're about to find out.
Heat 3A brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers. And presented for Seafair by Johnson & Johnson family of companies.
Well, I think they all want it, but whether they've got the equipment to go after it. Mike Hansen's a pretty good driver, Scotty, but he doesn't have the equipment in the Miss Go Bowling.
He's a very, very good driver. He's been the Madison driver the last half dozen years, but they are down on equipment.
The Miss Budweiser, the team to beat, certainly. There are the pictures of Go Bowling as we are now just a little over 3 minutes to go before the start of Heat 3A. Meantime, Bill Rocky is down in the Bud Pit as Dave Villock goes for his third win today.
Steve, Dave went out there. This is the first time he's going to have Pizza Time and Pico going head-to-head with him, and I can tell he's got his game face on. This is going to be a little different heat for him.
I think Dave Villock has his game face on most all the time anyway. Here's the Appy and Geronimo. This one is piloted by Mitch Evans, and we've been following the repair job with Bill Wixie.
An absolutely amazing job by the Appy and Geronimo crew to get this thing in the water and to make it not take on water. What kind of an undertaking was that to get done?
That's basically what you call a thrash. That took a total team effort. We all worked as hard as we could to get it in there, and I have a funny feeling it's just half over because it's going to be out there going almost 200 miles an hour. We might have to do it all over again, but we're going to do our best to get in the final. That's what it's all about. We want to put on a show and get this boat in the final and play as well as we can.
Excellent. A loud cheer was erupting from the general area from the Appy and Geronimo when they got this boat in the water. We'll see how they do, guys.
All right, Bill. Now the York International presents the Pizza Time. Mike?
Mark just has to finish strong. He'd be very, very wise not to get himself in any kind of trouble here. Doesn't have to prove anything to the Budweiser. Going to have to wait until the final heat for that sort of stuff.
And finally, the Miss Pico with Greg Hopp at the controls, and he has been gaining confidence throughout the afternoon. Tony Ventrella is down in the Pico pits.
As you know, Greg Hopp won the last heat. Yeah, they're flying high down here. I asked the crew member just a few minutes ago, do you make any adjustments for the next heat? He said no, for two reasons. We don't have to, and we didn't have time anyway because we have to race again. So they're looking pretty good here. Back to you.
Tony, thanks. As the boat's now inside of a minute and a half, and again, we're getting a little dicing out there for lane, Scotty?
Yeah, the Pico is shadowing the Budweiser, and now he's going to go ahead and cut through the infield. They're all going to be extremely early again. But right now you see the Pico and that going through here. Now the Budweiser's back in here, and he is cutting through. Now he doesn't really care about the lane at this particular point. These guys are heading on up. This is a 20-second mark if you're on the wood all the way, and we're at under a minute here. It's an 8-second run from the exit pin here to the start line. So when you're sitting at home, you can see just how early they are and where they're at. And actually, they're making the water so much worse for themselves by doing this because when they're going that slow, see all the water coming off the boat through here? It's hard to see, and it's making big holes, and they're going to come right around here in just a couple seconds and have to hit it.
That's exactly right. They're hacking a real trough up there for themselves, making some trouble.
Mike, who in this bunch is the best starter?
I think that David and Mark Webber are the best starters there. Mitch, if he had the power, is a good starter also. But we don't know what to expect out of the Pico this time. We'll see what its ratchet up speed will look like. They pushed Dave perhaps to the 3-lane. No, it looks like he'll take the 2. No, it will be the 3-lane.
No, he's in lane number 2.
2. He is in lane number 2. And so the Pico will have 1. Dave will have lane number 2. Appy in lane 3. The Go Bowling is going to be in the 4-lane, coming wide on the outside. It's going to be the Appy and Geronimo. Here they come to the line. Go Bowling's going to lead him across, but he isn't going to have the horsepower to take it down into the turn.
And he may have been over himself.
Looked like he poked a little too soon to me, too. Pico is looking pretty good, though, on the inside as they come around the corner of the Budweiser. Getting a little bit of traffic out there, trying to sort things out in the 2-lane now. Is going after the Pico, but Pico's out on top. Just exactly what Greg had to do. He had to show the Budweiser he's got some stuff here.
And he needs to push him real wide coming up this corner where they're coming up here. When he gets into this corner, he needs to push him extremely wide to have any chance to beat him in this race.
It's absolutely true. The Budweiser's got a lot of boat speed carrying it through, and the Pico is going a bit wide, but not as wide as he needed to.
Not wide, not near wide enough. Budweiser's about dumped it trying to get around there.
Budweiser looks like it's dropped back just a little bit this time after doing that. So we're getting a rough ride also on the front straightaway here. The Pico's out front, going down into turn number 1 for the second time around. And here is a point where David can only hurt himself. If he really tries to run him down, it's a pride thing, but it's not a very smart thing to do.
No, he needs to lay back, but that guy has got an ego the size of Mount Rainier, and I know he's not going to back off. He's going to go for him.
So it's a little bit risky. This is where Bernie gets a little bit nervous because he realizes that he doesn't need to hurt the boat going into the final. He's got 800 points, and it would be foolish to wind up having some kind of problem, puncture in the boat or whatever, as he goes into the final heat and have to cause the crew to do a little bit of thrashing. Pico's just looking good.
Well, this kid is just spanking him. I mean, this is an amazing thing. This guy has only been by the wheel of an unlimited hydroplane 8 times. I can hardly believe what I'm seeing.
Down to the start-finish line for the second of the 3 times around, and the Pico holds the lead. This is exactly what Chip wanted to do in Heat 3 over at Tri-Cities last weekend before he got caught in the wake of the Budweiser and went over. He had to show him the same sort of thing that Greg Hopp is showing him. And I'll tell you what, Chip couldn't have been driving this any better today.
No, I don't believe he could, and I don't think if he could drive it as well, to be honest with you, given the fact of his injury.
It is now official. The Go Bowling did jump the gun. Down the back chute with a half lap left to go. The Miss Pico being driven by relief driver Greg Hopp is just plain spanking the butt in this one. No question about it. Budweiser had to let him go. Not worth risking the equipment as we head into the final from Heat 3. And this is going to be a popular victory here as the Miss Pico is going to come down and claim the checkered flag. And young Greg Hopp is making some history on Lake Washington this afternoon.
He sure is. He's making a name for himself in a big way, and this will really get the crowd on the beach going. We're going to have a barn burner of a final.
Budweiser coasting across the line. 300 points for Dave Villwock. He would like to have had a perfect day. Had one last weekend, had one the weekend before that, but it's not going to be today. But he's certainly in the catbird seat still going into the final. Third across the line, York International presents the pizza time. And fourth across the line, and it'll be questionable depending upon what happens with respect to the last shakedown of points and who can run and who cannot. But the Appy and Geronimo really needed to do better than that.
Yeah, they really did. It's got to be disappointing for him. He was in a pretty good place at the start, but he just wasn't close enough to the inside. And for whatever reason, they just can't get that boat running. I know that boat's faster than all get out, but it's not showing it today.
Yeah, it surely isn't. It was very quick a year ago on this lake, and somehow or other has lost all of that this year and this afternoon.
Tony Ventrella is in the Pico pits, and they are doing some celebrating down there, Tony.
That's one thing to win a heat without the Miss Budweiser in it, but when you win and beat Dave Villwock, it's a whole other story. You guys are outdoing yourselves today.
We're trying to go as fast as we can. I hope Greg's doing an outstanding job. He's doing a really good job driving. He's going around the corners as fast as he can turn the boat and stamp it on it.
And the boat is running as well as better than expected.
Better than expected. I think we got it tuned up to where we like it.
We got to do that one more time, by the way.
One more time. We got my fingers crossed. I'm going for it.
All right, it's been a great day so far for Greg Hopp and the Miss Pico as he comes back in after winning his second heat of the day. One more big one to go, Steve.
You know what it reminds me of is a second string or third string quarterback coming in and the entire team rallying around that guy, a John Kitna, let's say, from a couple of years ago. And the whole team is just so excited for him to do well that everybody else maybe does a little bit better. And I think it's just great watching this Pico team. Still, though, it's all business with the Budweiser team. The championship, the General Motors Cup, has yet to be run. Dave Villwock and Bernie Little will be heard from before this afternoon is over, Mike.
Oh, he certainly will be heard from. They got plenty of more tricks up their sleeve, too, and it's not over for this guy. He's going to have to do it one more time. We'll be right back to have a chat with it.
Heat 3A has been brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers. And presented for Seafair by Johnson & Johnson Family of Companies.
You're looking at the Miss Pico making believers out of a whole lot of folks up and down the beach as Greg Hopp spanks the Budweiser, takes first place in Heat 3A. A great piece of racing, and that's your Long's Drug Pantene photo finish.
And Michael, if that's the photo finish, take a look at the crew. They were just cheering and happy. Now it's all business again, but as that Pico boat was coming back into the dock, they were just jumping up and down with their newfound kiss. Holy smoke. You don't see that all that. I haven't seen Bernie kiss anybody yet, but probably just as well. Still, lots of hugging and carrying on in the Pico pit as As Scotty, you've been saying, Greg Hopp is making a believer out of everybody, and Tony Ventrella is continuing down in the Pico pits.
As they crane the boat over our heads here, we'll get a little bit wet and get ready to talk with Greg Hopp, who wins against the Miss Budweiser, and I think that's the key. Greg, all right, he won one without Dave Villwalk, and then you raced him and beat him anyway. So bring on the rest of the guy. Oh, there is nobody else. That's right. Not bad. And the north turn, as you came around, I think it was the second time around, you could have gone and maybe pushed him a little wider than you did, but it didn't matter. You had the speed anyway.
Yeah, no, the Pico team provided me with a beautiful boat, lots of power. I'd like to thank Fred Leland for giving me the opportunity to drive it. And gosh, the thing is just incredible. You know, we'll have to see what's in store for the final.
All right, nice going so far, Greg. Good luck in that final.
All right, thanks a lot.
Greg Hopp, it's been just a great day for this crew down there. Let's toss it over to Bill Rocky.
Dave, that time Greg got you.
Yeah, we tried a little different combination. I tried to anticipate a little bit for what I thought we'd get at the start, and we didn't. So I got about a half a second behind. Another guy jumped, so it was a erratic start. And so we just wanted to get some points for the World Championship deal.
So is that a case where if you had him at the start, maybe you'd keep going, but otherwise no need to push it?
I was in a tough position at the start, so I just wanted to defend the boat and get to the final. Sometimes that's really difficult. We saw some boats ran over each other earlier, and so that's what we tried to do.
Interesting comment from Barney. He said he's going to go get you a pilot's license.
yeah, it's rough out there and chasing, from the outside. We tried to push him just a little bit, but it's too rough to do that.
Thanks a lot, Dave. Back to you, Steve.
There was the Bud bouncing along out there, as all the boats are, and as we get further into this afternoon and the sky's clear and the wind picks up, everybody's going to be bouncing along out there on the water. Interesting point here, and I think it should be made about the Pico, that regardless who's been at the controls, Fred Leland, his U100 team has won 3 of the last Seafair championships. A disappointing year last year, but Fred knows this water, he knows his team, and he's got a pretty good guy at the controls of a pretty fast boat right now, Scott.
Well, he certainly does. I mean, he picked this out of his back pocket, as Fred is, often to do. But the guys that he has working for him are very, very talented. They've been there through the Dave Villwalk and then the Mark Evans, and I was there driving another one of his boats, and it's all basically the same group of guys that are there, and they know this lake. And Kenny Dryden, of course, had that horrific accident on this lake that ended his driving career, but he's an excellent crew chief, and I just couldn't be more proud of them. They're 2-1, whale of a job.
They surely are. Did they keep the water out of the Appian Geronimo? Let's find out from Bill Wixie.
Standing by with crew chief John Walters, did they keep the water out of the Appian?
Well, we kept some of it out. There's an awful lot of water out there to try and keep out. Unfortunately, we really didn't have time to do anything other than really just make the boat structural again. As you can see, the drain plug back there's an awful lot of water coming out of it. I think that when the duckbill got pulled off, they just had to stick a plug in it because we were kind of running out of time. So if indeed we have enough points to get the thing back in the water again here, we'll probably put a duckbill on that side so it'll drain, even if we have to take one off of the other side. But for the most part, it seems like most of it held up pretty well. There's a couple of spots back towards the back there where the rear shoe, which really takes the most abuse, tried to peel up a little bit. But I think we've got a little bit more time to fix that part of it, and the rest of it seems to be just fine. So,
well, we'll have to see if the repair will be necessary for the final, if indeed the Appian Geronimo qualifies for the final. Back upstairs.
Bill, thanks very much. And back downstairs now to the awards presentation stage for Heat 3A.
Greg, on behalf of the Motrin and Tylenol brands, we would like to congratulate you as well as the rest of the Miss Pico team for winning Heat 3A of the General Motors Cup at Seafair.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Once again, I'd like to thank General Motors and Motrin and Tylenol. Thanks a lot for the trophy. Wow, second time up here today. Incredible. Incredible. I should thank the Pico team for providing me with such an awesome boat, and Fred and Jackie Lewin for giving me the opportunity to drive it. And we'll see what happens in the final.
I don't know about you, but Greg Hopp may have one more of those woo-hoo-hoos in him before this afternoon is over. We've got more racing, Heat 3B still to come from the General Motors Cup at Seafair.
Heat 3B brought to you by Charles Schwab, providing people, technology, and support to help you gain financial control. By Long's Drugs, the best store in town. And presented for Seafair by Oldsmobile. Start something.
By the way, have we mentioned you have a ringside seat to all the action here at Seafair? Thanks for joining us on our continuing coverage on KIRO 7 as we get set to run Heat 3B. We just had the 5 to the 5 gun, and now let's line them up for you in Heat 3B. This is Ken Muscatel and the Tire Factory boat, and Bill Wixie's in the pits.
Standing by with Roger Newton, the crew chief of the Tire Factory boat. Now, it's important for this boat to finish in the top 3 here to make the final. Do you think you got a shot?
Sure, but first let me correct him. I'm not the crew chief. I'll catch heck for that.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to, overstate your position there, but you got rid of the back wing of this boat. Why do that?
The first heat we ran real well, but we found a crack in one of the supports on the wing, so we took that off, repaired it, and we taped up some of the supports inside the fairing where we lost one of the supports in the last heat. So we were not able to run with the wing, and it's a rough ride out there, even with the wing on, but without it's pretty rough. So hopefully we'll get a good finish and be in the final.
All righty, Dr. Ken Muscatel on board the Tire Factory boat. Back to you.
All right, and now we talk about the Graham Trucking boat. Here we go with Mike Weber at the control. Scott?
Well, Mike is in the piston-powered boat, and he's just hoping that he's had a dismal day. He's just hoping to get that thing around 3 laps and pointed towards Kelowna with maybe some momentum.
Next up in Heat 3B is the U-19, the Tweetins RV Mart. Jerry Hale also looking to try to make something happen here today, Mike.
Yeah, he's trying to make something happen, but he doesn't have a lot under the bonnet to do it with. He's just hoping to finish and continue to gain a few points and head on to Kelowna with a little momentum. Only their second race of the year, and Bob Fendler's team is making improvements each time out, but not enough to be a factor here today.
The Elam boat, of course, has Mark Evans at the control, and Tony Ventrella's in the pits.
He's having a pretty good day, too. He's got a third. He's got a second. This is Donna, who works as a diver, but you also work with the guy's air mask, and Mark wasn't getting much air in that third place finish, and then you adjusted the mask for him.
I did. I adjusted in the second place finish we got, and so now we're hoping at the first place we did a little tweaking on the mask, a little more airflow. It's helping.
Thanks, Donna. That's the key. The more air, not under the boat, that is, but in the mask, the higher the finish, and that we hope here in the Elam camp works for Mark Evans. Back up to you, Steve.
I know that helps us up here. Mark Tate is driving the Freddy's Club, U2, and Bill Rocky's in their pits.
Steve, I think Mark's getting a lot of air in his mask there, but I think he needs points. That's the word here on the dock at Freddy's Club. They got to get some points here to get into the final, and that's what they're looking at.
And finally, the Lumar window film with Nate Brown. Bill Worcester is the owner of this boat. And not a very good day so far for Nate Brown, one of the most engaging young men on the circuit, but today, Scotty's not having the kind of luck he'd like to have.
Well, unfortunately for Nate, the cupboard is bare for parts on that team, and they really need to get some sponsorship help more than what they have to be able to load back up.
Well, there you go. That's Heat 3B. As they're getting set, about a minute and a half to go here before the start of the race. Let's bring in Mike Fitzsimmons.
And we have a pretty decent course condition, although they're going to do everything they can to make it lousy by the third lap of this one. You can be sure of that. But our wind conditions have died down to where I think, Scott, we've got about the best course conditions of the day so far.
We do. We have Mark Evans going through the center already at about 1:14. So Mark Evans is obviously intent on making the inside start. Now, he does not have lane control at this particular point. This boat here, these boats here have control of the racetrack until 2 buoys are passed, which are up here. So let's see if they cut them off up here. And in fact, the yellow boat, the Lumar boat, pulled right over in front of them, right over in here, and that is totally legal to do. Because when you come through the infield like this, you do not have any right to this racetrack, to these racing lanes, until 2 buoys are passed.
That's right, and as soon as they cross the buoy they're just about to cross right now, which is the yellow entry point, that's going to be commitment buoy, and you must stay in lane at that time. It looks like Ken Muscatel will have the inside this time.
And Mike, let me jump in here real quickly, tell you that Graham Trucking is still on the beach. As a matter of fact, never got it fired up. They'll be pulling this boat back to the dock, so no Allison in this race.
So that's kind of in the story of their day. We're way, way early coming to the start. Everybody's creeping to the start. So they're going to start to throttle up right about now. But inside, the Elam looks to be in a pretty good position. And outside, the Freddy's Club looks to be in a pretty good position to avoid jumping the gun. They have a little speed going to the first turn.
And the Bob Fendler Tweetin RV boat is pulled back into the pits. So I think we're down to a 3-boat race.
We are, and they're all 3 legal as well. And on the inside, Muscatel, Sam's, the horizontal stabilizer, is leading them into the corner.
We have a 4-boat race. I didn't see the Elam inside, but we see him now. He's leading.
Yep, Elam's leading now as he comes off the corner. Again, that performance of the tire factory looked good going in, but not enough beans to come out all right. Although he's still staying in the thick of it, along with Lumar in the backfield there, so to speak, for 2 and 3. But our leader is the Elam Plus with Mark Evans. He's kind of letting this race come to him. I don't think he's going to have to really go like a skull today in order to win here, but he's going to have to keep everybody else honest. And he does a good job of doing that by forcing him wide coming off that corner.
That's what we've been talking about all day. That's how you want to run a corner when you're in front, is to go out 2.5, 3 lanes, and he did exactly that. Look how far out he has these guys. And boy, Mark Tate's coming hard. He needs to get second, I would think. He needs to get by that U8 boat.
He absolutely does, and I think that's pretty much the mission that he's looking at. The 8 boat is going to just try to outrun him. He's really not trying to chase down the Elam. The situation for Nate Brown is to just keep that black boat from passing him. And it's going to be tougher to do on this back chute than it was on the front chute, because Mark is definitely reeling him in.
Yeah, Mark Tate is a Charger, and but the U8's running better than it ran all day. I saw him swing a new engine in it, and maybe that's the one that they needed when the day started.
Might be the bullet they'll keep for the final, but look at Mark Tate now as he moves in on top of him. You're looking at the Elam out of the corner right now. Right behind him is where the action is. There's the Lumar, and as you look outside, and there's the Elam, out of the corner, and the Lumar is right behind him. And they're the two that are really mixing it up out there. Lumar on the outside on the inside rather of the Freddy's Club, and the other boat on the full inside, and that's Ken Muscatel. He's actually pulling into the action too.
He's game as heck. He is still running hard. Oh, Ken Muscatel. He doesn't have too many jobs yet.
Now he sure doesn't. Last time around now, and Mark Evans has pulled it down. Who's that? That's
Harvey went over.
That's the Jim Harvey boat. That's
the Tate boat went over.
Tate has gone upside down in turn 2.
Now just a second. It may have landed right side up.
He went up over he is right side up, and he's still coasting just a little bit, but he did go right through the rooster tail.
I saw the whole boat. He was 15, 20 feet in the air, and he was completely sideways.
But we do not see flares. We haven't had a stoppage. And at this moment, it looks like they're going to hang a checkered flag for the Elam.
He's firing. He's trying to fire it back up. I can't imagine that.
He is trying to fire it back up again. Elam's going to get the checkered flag. We did not have a race stoppage over this. Elam gets the checkered flag. Second place to Lumar. And Mark was definitely pushing. He had to get second place. He needed those points. You're looking right down at the top of it right at the moment. And Mark Tate's trying to start it.
I just hope we have some film of that, because I believe that the U8 moved out on him going through the corner, and that's what caught him in the rooster tail, and there may be a penalty coming for that. His cowling's floating in the middle of the lake right now.
He got caught in some serious wash back there. I couldn't see at the time whether he actually caught air or not. As you said, he's trying to light the candle and get the boat back into shore.
Well, he's trying to get the points. He wants to start and go down the back chute and get scored. That's what he wants to do, and he's got it fired.
Is there a time limit? How long will they wait for him to come around, Mike?
He has 15 minutes to finish, as long as he keeps running from the finish of the last boat ahead of him. But I don't know that he's going to be able to do it.
Well, without a cowling, Mike, it's going to be almost impossible to get the thing on a plane, because there's no water diversion, and every time he tries to go on a plane, it's going to put the fire out.
That engine's becoming a sponge in there now. Unless he can get it to pop loose. If he were pointing into the wind, he may have a better chance of it. But there you see it, all that water going over and sucks right down into the bilge, into the engine, and shuts it off.
Yeah, and you'll see a big plume of smoke come out from behind it over here.
It's actually steam more than anything else.
And that means the fire's out again. So one of two things is going to happen. He's going to need some battery. Okay, here we go. Whoa. Now, I'm having a hard time seeing if the other boat moved out. You can certainly see. Let's back that up one more time if we could.
They're looking at it from the top.
Okay, here you go. Here comes the Harvey boat. Let's watch the angle. You know what he did? It was the same deal
feel as Jerry Hopp had. If we could go back one more time, the thing got up on a roller and it just drove right smack into the back of the rooster tail.
Exactly
we could back up just one more time.
And I don't know that he ever went over, but what we saw certainly was the cowling come flying off, catching all that water.
I saw the boat completely sideways. He's in it. See, there goes the cowling. We're on the back side of it. On this side of it, and I saw the boat completely on its side going through there. This is the back side of it, and that's why we can't see it on the
We have
telestrator.
that chopper shot all the way through.
And there is Mark Tate still trying to get just enough juice to keep this thing going down the backstretch. He may use all 15 minutes, but he keeps, as you said, putting out the fire. Every time he starts to get it up on the plane, the water puts it out.
Well, you better hope he has some diehards in that puppy, because it takes a lot of battery juice to fire him.
And it looks like that he. He's carrying a lot more weight in water too than he started with as well.
Bill Rocky is down in the pits now. Let's go to him, Bill.
You guys are all watching this. What do you think happened there?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you haven't? Did one of you guys see it? It looks like he took a roller and
on the other side of the rooster tail, and was on the other side of the rooster tail, so we didn't really see it.
Looks like he's coming up on a roller and he's going to hit somebody's rooster tail, and he doesn't go over, I don't think, but he gets a lot of air underneath.
Well, he did cut into the rooster tail of the other boat, it looks like maybe. That hydraulic water pressure will bring you right up.
Wow. All right, thanks, guys. They're all, I know he's trying to start it here, and they needed points for this heat. Doesn't look like they're going to get it, and tough break for Mark Tate and the Freddy's Club. Let's go over to Bill Wixie.
Thanks, Bill. Ken Muscatell, you had a pretty decent look at that. What happened out there?
Well, Mark was on the outside. I'm not sure what happened. He went up sideways. I thought he was upside down. That's why I started shutting down. Apparently he didn't. Landed right side up and got it started again, so I took off. That's about as much as I know. It's pretty rough out there, but you know, I was racing pretty hard. He was outside Lumar. I was on the inside.
And Ken Muscatell, it also looks like he has qualified for the final, so we'll see him in a few minutes.
Really?
Back upstairs, Steve.
Bill, thank you. Tony Ventrella is with the winner of this race, Mark Evans in the Miss Elam Plus.
All right, pretty happy Elam camp. Let's say hi to Sven first. Not bad, not a bad day, Sven.
No, it was nice today. It was nice for everybody around us. Good crew, good driver, good weather, and my whole family is here, and everybody is here, and now we're smiling and getting ready for the final.
Mark, come on in. Mark, come on over. We were talking to Donna before. You had a third place finish. She gave you a little more air in the mask. You finished second. She gave you more air. Yeah. Now you're first. Pretty soon your voice will go up.
Well, that's because it's nitrous for the final, man. That's what we need. That's our top secret deal there.
There, 99, 3, 2, 1, and a 1.
It's about the best day the Elam's ever had here, isn't it?
Absolutely. We had one Tri-Cities last year. We were first, second, and first. On the finals, we were third. And now we had finals coming, so watch out, fellas, okay?
Watch out is right, and you're feeling pretty darn good about it.
Oh, yeah, feeling real good. Great boat ride.
One modification we have on Miss Elam, we put on bigger rear view mirrors so we can see Budweiser in the back of it.
Whoa! Sven lays down the gauntlet. Oh, there's...
Hey, Nate. Okay, thank you very much.
Nate Brown stepping in.
Slow down next time so we can put on more of a show. I will, just a little bit. Just a little bit.
All right, drivers congratulating each other as always down here. Nate, good job out there. We'll come back and do this again at the final, all right? So we'll see you. Send it upstairs.
All right, Tony, thanks very much. Yeah, they're already talking stuff. We haven't even gotten to the final yet, but we will soon. The General Motors Cup at Seafair is still to come.
Heat 3B has been brought to you by Charles Schwab, providing people, technology, and support to help you gain financial control. By Long's Drugs, the best store in town. And presented for Seafair by Oldsmobile. Start something.
You're looking at the Miss Elam Plus. Mark Evans steering this boat to a victory in Heat 3B. Wire to wire, the Elam was your winner. And that's your Long's Drugged Pantene Photo Finish.
We'd like to thank Pemco Insurance for being part of our Seafair 99 coverage. Pemco Insurance, your home for the new millennium, now celebrating their 50th year.
And to the presentation stage now for Heat 3B.
Hello, my name's Scott Conway. I'm with Oldsmobile Division, and I'd just like to say that this is a fantastic event, and General Motors is very proud to be the sponsor of General Motors Cup at Seafair. I'd also like to take this opportunity to congratulate Mark Evans on winning a fantastic race, Heat 3B, and also their team, Miss Elam Plus. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, yeah,
Thank
this
you.
is great.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to really enjoy my brand new car he's going to give me. He said that he would earlier. But we'll save that for the final heat. Thank you, General Motors. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Hi, Mom. I got first place. Look at this. Thank you much, man. See you later.
All right, Mom, you've been forewarned. Son's coming home with a trophy. We're coming back right after this. The evolution of the hydroplane. They've been racing hydros in Seattle for 5 decades, and now we're ready to race again.
The 1999 Vintage Hydro Heat at Seafair, brought to you by Pemco Insurance, your home for the new millennium, now celebrating their 50th year.
The 50th anniversary of Seafair, the vintage boats are going out. Bill Rocky, I know, was on the deck there of one of the boats a moment ago, but they're waving him off so they can get the boats out on the course. There they go. Bill?
Steve, I almost went for a ride there, Steve. Dave Williams in the Madison was going to talk to us, but he's on a tough schedule here, so he basically told me to get off the boat because he's got to go. And these things are beautiful. This is really fun to look at. Everybody that's watched hydroplanes for so many years, this is really going to be fun to watch.
Ken Muscatel finally got the Miss Burien going. Let me set the field for you here, and then we'll bring in Mike and Scotty to talk about these boats. We've got the 1959 Miss Thriftway. The 1960 Lazy Boy presents Miss Burien. I actually rode along in that about 115 miles an hour on this course. It was fun. 1967 Miss Budweiser, the 70 Atlas Van Lines, and then a replica of the 71 Miss Madison and the 79 Tempest. And for those folks, and there are lots of them, who remember Thunderboats when there really was thunder on Lake Washington, this has got to be a great moment, Scott.
Well, this is a great moment. The Tempest, watching that was painted as the Budweiser here. I actually turned the fastest lap in that boat that had ever been turned, and brought back a memory when I saw that boat. And a lot of people asked me, said, well, would you ever get back in these boats? And it's no, not with the turbines. I'd kind of been there and done that. But boy, if I could be in something that made noise again, I'd be back in a second.
Oh man, this is worth the price of admission right here. Let me tell you, some of these boats are kind of masquerading a little bit. I'll tell you which ones. The Miss Madison actually isn't the Miss Madison, believe it or not. That's the old Savier's Mist. But it is painted up as the Miss Madison only because there's a motion picture being made called Madison about the brilliant Cinderella victory of the Miss Madison in the 1971 Gold Cup race, and they're shooting that with this particular boat. The original Miss Madison is in no condition to play itself in the movie, but boy, does that look great. Jim McCormick drove that to a victory of the Miss Madison in 1971 in the Gold Cup in Madison, Indiana, turned that little town of 13,000 people on their ear, and then went on to win the Atomic Cup just 2 weeks later on the Columbia River. Dave is driving that one. Dave Williams, the president of the museum. And also out there, we have another boat under disguise, and that's the Atlas Van Lines boat. Thriftway that you see, the 1959 Thriftway, that's the real McCoy. That's the Miss Thriftway. The Atlas Van Lines, which is bringing up the rear to the line here, was actually that one, the white one with blue trim, was actually the Pay 'n Pack's Little Buzzard. That was a gold and orange and black trim boat on the 1970 Atomic Cup. Tommy Tucker Falk was the driver, lost his life in that boat, in fact, in the same year, 1970, down in San Diego. And the bright red Miss Budweiser boat, that's actually Chuck Hickling's original Tempest. But the thing that I think has got to be one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. There's the Tempest boat that Scotty had the fastest lap in. In fact, when Chuck Hickling designed, built, and drove that boat at the age of 65 back in 1978. Bill Muntz with his crew chief. The boat you're seeing on your center screen right now, the drop sponsor 1967 Miss Budweiser, the latest completion, by the way, of the Hydroplane and Raceboat Museum. That is the real McCoy also. Bernie, who was looking at it just the other day, was absolutely enthralled with this gorgeous boat. Originally, it was the Notre Dame, the first Notre Dame in 1962. Colonel Warner Gardner drove that race boat. Later on, it was the Shoo Shoo, then bought by Bernie to run the remainder of the 1967 season when his driver was killed. Bill Brow, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame last night here in Seattle. And Mike Thomas drove that particular boat to a brilliant victory over Billy Shoemaker in the Yellow Miss Bardol up at Kelowna, British Columbia, the 1967 BC Cup. So, well, I tell you, there's some terrific history here. This boat, of course, the third of the Thriftway line, the immediate successor to the Thriftway that hit the Coast Guard boat out here in 1958. Bill Munsey had his most successful several seasons aboard that boat. It was also called the Century 21 when it was promoting the Seattle World's Fair in 1961 and 62. Willard Rose was the owner. This particular boat, the 60 Miss Burien, of course, started out its life as Tempest. Peter Weck owned the boat. It burned with Chuck Hickley driving it in the very first race. It was in here on Lake Washington, but it went on to run as the Save Airs Pro and a variety of other names, and it ran for a good many years right up into the late 1970s.
Wow, if we just close our eyes for a minute and just listen, you'd almost think you were back in the middle to late 1950s, and there was no Seahawks or Mariners, and not even a Space Needle, and everything revolved around Seafair and the boat races. Here come the big old piston boats down this front straight. Let's just listen as, well, almost all of them come down the front straight.
That's a beautiful sound, isn't it?
Isn't that something? I'm a kid again. It's gorgeous.
Having come here years after these boats ever ran on the water, it is a treat for me. And knowing some of these guys, Dave Williams and Ken Muscatel, and all the volunteers and all the time that has gone in to restore these boats, it is an incredible story that these things are even on the water in many cases.
It's a labor of love like you can't believe. It's all volunteers. These guys are doing this with a nickel and a dime, and they did a beautiful restoration, and they're to be commended for this. And I'll bet a lot of these fans go home tonight talking about, did you hear it? Did you hear it? They might even get a few of those old little boats that pull behind the bicycles out again and up and down the streets of Seattle.
I'm going to dust mine off, that's for sure. That's the sound that made Seattle a boat racing capital of the world, no question about it. These engines, World War II vintage Allison V12 1710 cubic engines, Rolls-Royce 1610s. Man,
it is such a different sight for all of us to see the driver, to see him sitting up so high behind that engine. And you can imagine when there was trouble, how vulnerable that driver, there's Ken Muscatel in the Miss Burien, how vulnerable that driver was.
Oh, he certainly was. And that nose pitched in, these are shovel nose boats, rounded nose, not pickle forks. And when that nose pitched in, that driver catapulted out just like a rocket.
Well, I drove these front engine boats in the beginning of my career, and I'll tell you, they were a handful. And when everything was going really, really great, the best part of it was you had a mouthful of oil.
Fumes, vibration, and that prop shaft running right down between your legs. What a great sight.
And Michael, watch this, the Atlas copy. That thing can't turn. And so when he gets down here, he takes this poor guy out in the Budweiser. You notice they don't put the real drivers in them because we would have blown up these things already. I would have gone out there and hot rodded that thing like no tomorrow.
Yeah, you'd want to see 170 in the chute just to remember what it felt like. And these, of course, are being deliberately kept below the actual pace they're capable of, because let's face it, these are museum pieces, friends. These are antiques. These are race boats that are here for posterity, and you don't want to hurt them at all.
Ah, yeah, you do. I blew up a lot of Rolls Royces. Let's get another one.
You know, a number of these hulls found in somebody's backyard, sitting there just kind of wasting away someplace before they finally got their hands on them, and with donations and tender loving care, they have brought these boats back. That Miss Burien, for instance, the one I rode in about 2 months ago with Dave Williams at the controls, just a little yellow strap to hang on to. And we, like I said, did about 115 and hit a hole up here in the south turn, and I said, that's about enough for me, thanks very much.
Well, this comes from an era when the when the popular school of thought was you did not want to be strapped in the boats. Today, the guys are strapped in the boats. These guys wanted to be able to be pitch clear. That was the theory, that you'd be far safer. Of course, we lost a few fellows trying to test that theory over the years. But these particular boats were certainly the precursors. That 59 Thriftway was perhaps one of the best running boats of the year. Ran 20 consecutive heats without an engine failure in the early 1960s in competition with Bill Muncie driving.
I think that Thriftway's out there hunting for a Coast Guard cutter. We had one out here in the corner. I think he's hunting them down.
Yeah, it was a little large, so Muncie preferred the smaller utility boat.
Wouldn't it be great if we had an engine package again that made that kind of noise?
Yeah, it certainly would be. And I think that fans up and down the beach who remember these boats and, of course, enjoy the speeds of the turbine era lament the fact that unlimited hydroplanes are just not noisy enough anymore.
Yeah, they're beautiful, aesthetic machines and brutally fast, but, the type of racing I'm involved now, I'll tell you, people are there to hear the noise. They want to hear it.
Well, I can't tell you how many people I have talked to who grew up sort of in this neighborhood, maybe down in the Georgetown area or up in the Rainier Beach area, and as kids used to hear these boats out here practicing, and they'd come running over the hill and down Genesee Park and down to the waterfront to see their favorite drivers, probably dragging their little wooden boats behind their bikes all the while.
Well, and they could hear them for 10, 15 miles away.
Oh, absolutely. The nuns at St. Mary's knew where I was when I wasn't in school.
You still got the welt marks in your hands.
Oh, I do, yeah. Yeah, the Board of Education went across my knuckles, but I grinned the whole way. Man, I was down there to watch the Thriftway run.
You know what is really kind of ironic here, everybody, for those of us who are in the computer generation now, and I was on the World Wide Web just the other day on the internet looking for information on all these boats. There is a wealth of historical information, photos and stories on the internet. Just log on, find Seafair, find UHRA, find Hydro Museum. There's any number of places that you can catch up on where these boats are, who these drivers were, and really get a history lesson about not only hydroplane racing, the Unlimited, but what this city was like and what this boat racing venture meant to this city over the years.
And maybe this would be the shot in the arm the museum needs. They have struggled for years, and boy, they have put their effort out. And maybe by doing this, people of Seattle will reach in their pocket and say, God, we want to see more of this, and we'll be able to enjoy this. And maybe someday they'll put some of the real drivers in them and get them going a little faster. I just want to see them go faster.
I can't help but think that the late Bob Williams is sitting up in heaven smiling at this, because this was his dream and he never lived to see it happen. But Dave Williams picked things up, no relation, but Dave has just been a dynamo with the museum and has done some incredible things with the help of a great board of directors, Dr. Ken Muscatel and his assistants as chair of the board, and they've just done a terrific job. If you ever get a chance to go down to the museum, this kind of history that you see out here on the race course is just the tip of the iceberg. They've got some marvelous stuff down there.
And they're always looking for volunteers to help put these boats together. So any of you that have any skills at all in any fiberglass, paint, mechanical, woodworking ability, all these boats were built out of wood. Just feel free to contact Dave Williams and the Unlimited Hydroplane Hall of Fame and Museum, and they'd be happy to put you to work.
What I will say is this is the closest race we've had all day right here.
Yeah, they're watching
these boats.
They're bunched in there all right, but when the days but a lot of folks look back on these races, wow, they always race so much closer, so much more exciting. And actually, it really wasn't. When you take a look at it, we had the same kind of laps typically, and the same kind of differentiation, the more powerful teams, the better finance teams, and the lesser finance teams that we have the present day. It really wasn't all that much, but of course, time kind of dulls the edges of our memories to a certain extent. We recall things slightly different from the way they really were.
Well, people want to remember what they can remember. But having grew up in the sport through the Rolls-Royce era and the Allison era and into the turbine era and then another 10 years in the sport with turbines, I can assure you the turbines are much more reliable than these were.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, Scott's dad had the Parkles O-ring mist boats and ran the very same motors you're hearing right here. Did you ever ride in those little ones?
In the Parker boat? No, never did ride in any of my dad's Unlimiteds. I worked on them as a child. Basically, I got in the way, and that was my introduction. I was first in Seattle when I was 11 years old in 1966 when my dad had the Dixie Cola. And what I would give to see, those boats. Actually, the Parco boat, it belongs to Bob Patterson in Van Nuys, and I've often had thoughts of trying to acquire the boat and restored it in my dad's memory because he was taken from me when I was 16.
Yeah, the Parco, as a matter of fact, when it ran as the Miss Bahia, but a few years back with Ron Armstrong driving, actually won a race.
Yeah, it was an amazing thing when we had it. The thing wouldn't get out of its own way.
We may have trouble getting these guys off the course. I got a feeling, a sneaking hunch, that they are just about having as much fun as they're ever going to have in front of 300,000 people again. The old boats, Dave Williams, Ken Muscatel, and all the other drivers out there. Congratulations to them, and thanks to them for making this 50th anniversary celebration of Seafair just a little bit extra special.
The guys at Truck wondered how many laps. You guys forget we used to run 90 miles with these boats. We're going to be here till Tuesday.
It looks like old Muscatel, he's leading this deal. It's the first time he's had a chance to lead anything all day, and he's just having a ball. I'm going to blow somebody off today.
Actually, he's not. The Thriftway's leading it.
Oh, I see. Well,
I think they're getting the high side too now.
Yeah, they are, but these guys don't want to come in. They're going to run them all out of gas and get towed home.
Our final will be at 6 o'clock if we have these running all over the track.
What a sight. What a special treat.
Beautiful, beautiful thing. They're to really need a big hand for this.
There's the Miss Burien is coming in. The Miss Thriftway still out there making its way around the course.
Wouldn't you know, Michael, the one I drove was the only one that broke down.
Wouldn't you know, huh, Scott?
Yeah. Who'd have thunk?
It's painted up as the Budweiser because, believe it or not, in the Madison movie, it's the villain boat.
Well, yeah, that goes
true to
without
life
saying.
or what?
That is true to life. That goes without saying.
This is art copying life.
And I'm hearing in the background a count. We have a 10 to the 5 now, so I'm guessing we're going to run the consolation after all.
Provisional heat, yeah, the winner which will slide in as the trailer boat in the final. That is, if you can ever get these antiques off the water, they're still getting ready to set up and come again.
Let's go down to the pits because Bill Rocky has got Ken Muscatel. I believe Ken is already in. Let's go to Bill Rocky.
Steve, like you were saying, I think he wants to go back out and run this thing. You guys had a great time out there. You didn't want to come in.
You know what? The last couple laps, it was really racing. It was fun. I kept looking and said, man, I got to make that next heat. Oh, it's great. People love it.
You guys have put in so much work to make this happen. This is really rewarding.
It is rewarding for all these volunteers at the museum. David Williams, the executive director, really made this happen, and for all the sponsors, the City of Burien and Lazy Boy, and all the people who got in behind this thing. It made something magical happen. It's pretty cool.
You guys didn't have any side bets in this race, did you, or anything like that?
I should have laid a bet. I should have bet that he was going to come on the inside. I didn't know they were actually going to do stuff like that. So, guys thought, should I slam the door on him or not? I said, oh man, that would be unsporting.
Okay, thanks a lot. It was a lot of fun to watch. Let's go over to Bill Wixie.
Hey, thanks, Bill. Over here on the other side of the pit, I'm joined by one of the true legends of racing, Bob Fendler. And Bob, this has got to be a real special treat for you to be able to watch the Thunderboats out on Lake Washington once again.
Well, of course, the reason they have the name Thunderboats is the sound, and it's a great thrill. The guys did well, and it's an exciting remembrance for the people here in Seattle.
Driving those boats so many years ago, what are your fondest memories of Lake Washington, Seafair, and the great boats of yesteryear?
Well, most important, of course, for everybody is the sound. There's a tremendous amount of noise that you don't have with the turbines. It's very fast. We're open cockpit. We're sitting behind the engine. The sensation of speed is incredible. And it's a world of freedom. Might be similar to the open biplanes with the open cockpits.
An amazing sight today on Lake Washington. Bob Fendler, thanks for joining us. We'll send it back upstairs to you, Steve.
Bill, thanks so much. It's always fun to hear from the guys who were here many years ago and helped the sport grow and continue on to today. Well, we are going to continue our racing. We've got the consolation heat coming up in a couple of minutes, and then we'll have the finals of the General Motors Cup at Seafair. A day long of fun and racing and air shows and all the rest still going on.
The 1999 Vintage Hydro Heat at Seafair has been brought to you by Pemco Insurance, your home for the new millennium, now celebrating their 50th year.
We're back at Stan Sayers Pits. It just keeps getting sunnier, but it also is getting breezier out here, and that means the waves are going to kick up as we get set for the provisional heat in just a couple of minutes. Let's go to Bill Rocky down in the pits.
Steve, I'm with Mark Tate. And Mark, you got a little banged up there in that last heat, but you can try to run in the consolation.
Yeah, we are. Typical Seattle luck for Mark Tate. I'm very disappointed in the performance so far. I feel bad for Jim Harvey and Freddie's, but we're going to go without a front canard wing and see. Maybe we can change our luck and put this thing into the final.
What happened down there in that turn?
Well, the referee saw it one way, I saw it another way. I talked to Nate, and Nate kind of feels the same way. He hit a little hole, and when he hit the hole, he came out, and his rooster tail kind of caught the left sponson of my boat, pulled it right into the full rooster tail, kind of stood the thing up, and had a nice soft landing, but just not a good day.
Crazy things happen here for you in Seattle especially.
Yeah, they do. It's not a proud moment, but we'll see what we can do this heat and see what we can do for the sponsors and Freddie's Club.
Okay, go out there, win the consolation. Steve, back to you.
All right, Bill Rocky with Mark Tate as they're putting the boat, trying to get it ready and into the water. We'll take a break and come back and run the provisional after this.
July 18th on the Navy base at Norfolk, Virginia. The Miss Pico was unable to start the final heat. Dave Vilwalk and the Miss Budweiser had a perfect day, winning every heat, including the final, in the Virginia is for Lovers Cup. Vilwalk earned his third victory of the season, tying him with Hanauer, but continues the lead in National High Point.
And you can see work still going on the Appian Geronimo. There you go. That's scientific work right there, folks. Take a heavy hammer and a mallet and just try to nail it together, slap some tape over it, and hope it holds for the provisional. Wow, not exactly the way you want to treat your boat. Meantime, on the other side, the Freddie's Club, they're working hard too, but they've got it in the sling. They're ready to lift it up and put her in the water. So as it stands right now, they're going to try to get the Appian, the Freddie's Club. The Go Bowling is set to go racing here in the provisional. The Graham Trucking, we're not even sure about that one. We're looking for the Graham Trucking. We'll find out. We'll come back. We're racing again in just a minute.
The provisional heat is brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers.
You saw it. We're set for the provisional heat. Bill Wixie's in the pits. Bill?
Yeah. In Geronimo and Mitch, this is do or die time.
This is it. We bolted some more metal on it, threw some more Bondo and duct tape, and we're going to go give it a whirl. We got nothing to lose here, so we're going to try to go for it.
Well, best of luck to you, Mitch. Not the way you want to treat your boat, though. No. Patching it together.
Unfortunately, it's going to be hard on it, but I'm going to try to take it as easy as I can.
All righty, well, good luck to you. Must win here for Mitch Evans and the Appian Geronimo back upstairs.
All right, and way upstairs along the shoreline. We've shown you so much along the water and in the skies, but there are a lot of lovely homes all up around the area here down by Genesee Park and the Stan Sayers Pits. That's our start-finish line location here along the lakefront. Some wonderful parties in some of these very nice homes on their balconies going on all along the way. This is a real tradition. That's a tradition, too, having your car towed out of a no parking area.
They towed my truck last night.
I heard about that. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I see.
But wave if you're watching KIRO 7. Well, maybe not. Well, anyway, still a lot of parties going on the shore, and I look around.
Somebody, there you go.
Well, hi, how are you? You've been inside watching. We're watching you. Be careful. Watch whatever. Be careful what you wish for here, folks. A lot of folks still here. They have not left. They want to see this provisional. The log boom is still just as crowded and maybe even more so. Chopper 7 is up over the scene. Clark Stahl and Bill Heinlein aboard, bringing you all the great shots. And we're going to have some pretty good racing coming up here in this professional, Scott.
We have some good boats in this. The Appian is in it, and Appian's a very good boat. The Freddy's Club is, they both had disastrous days and they have had accidents. They've just been able to recover from them. But he's in it. Freddy's Club doesn't have a canard wing, so he's lost one of his most valuable control surface. Go Bowling can run well. Maybe this is the time for Mike Hansen to break out. And then the Graham Trucking is in it. And maybe, they're inspired by the piston show that we just saw. Maybe a piston boat can put it to these turbines.
This is the provisional heat, and it's brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road to life, there are passengers, but there are drivers. This particular boat, the Misco Bowling's the only one that really isn't walking wounded in this thing.
Except for possibly in the engine department.
Possibly, yes, but as far as structure is concerned, it's still in one piece. So this is not going to necessarily be a real quick heat, but it's likely to be an interesting one. As we mentioned earlier, we've got the problem with the Appian Geronimo, so he's a little bit on the wounded side. Mitch Evans going to have to take it easy, but also take it if he can. We also have a problem with the canard on the Freddy's Club. It's not working, and so they're going to have to be a little careful as well, and that means we've got a lot of parity here.
Yeah, it should be an excellent race. The owner of the Appian Geronimo, Jerry Rise, I know, is on the log boom watching this boat race, and we hear he's really on the line about whether or not he's going to continue that program. And so Mitch wants to keep seeing those paychecks in the mailbox. He better hustle that thing to the front of the line.
Well, in many cases, for a lot of these drivers and teams, obviously not the Budweiser, certainly not the Pico, but for some of them, it really is a hand-to-mouth existence, stop to stop, city to city, on getting sponsorship just to keep the boat in the water.
It's been a tremendously difficult time for the boats, and a lot of these boats have different names on them than they had on them last week. As a matter of fact, about 80% of them do. Hopefully, if they can build some stability in it, they have had good fields. That's the good bright spot for the sport this year. They've averaged, I think, 10 to 12 boats, and no less than 10 at every event, including the East Coast ones. So, my personal opinion is they need piston engines, and I think you'd have 20 boats here and 500,000 people on the beach again, but they're hanging in there with what they have.
Amen to that. I agree with you 100%. And they have been doing a lot of things sponsor-wise, hand-to-mouth, and with the exception of the Appian Geronimo, which has been sponsored by the same organization all season long. Virtually every boat in this heat has been a if you will, region-by-region sponsor. They got 60 Washington State area bowling centers behind the Misco Bowling organization. You've got the Graham Trucking folks out west here backing the boat from the Evansville, Indiana area, the U3, the Allison-powered boat, the now Graham Trucking out here, but it's run under other names as well. Freddy's Club out here, but it's been different names on the East Coast, and occasionally has even run just as Harvey Motorsports without a sponsor at all.
Well, and of course, we talk about sponsors, we talk about all that, but the overall organization of this sport as well took a big hit when Bob Gobrecht decided to leave, and that kind of dumped all those responsibilities, as if he didn't have enough already, on Ken Moscatel. That's another tough deal.
That was a real tough deal because, they had gone through the two previous commissioners prior to Ken being appointed. There was some issues and problems with, and they were, quite frankly, in severe financial trouble. And Ken came in and was able to hire Bob Gobrecht, who had a wealth of background. He was the president of Seafair. Right. He did a great job. He worked for the Mariners, the Angels. For whatever reason, we hear innuendos as to why he didn't do it. I think he wanted them to put on a better show, and they didn't want to get away from this turbine stuff, and we hear that that's why he left. It's a shame because they were building some momentum. But I do know they have stopped the financial bleeding at least, and so they're not wallowing in red ink any longer, and they're trying to get their bills paid off. And let's face it, they put on a heck of a show today.
And meantime, through all of that, you still have some very talented people and some very dedicated people on the shore and in the boats who come out and run provisional races and heats and put on a show for the folks here in the stands, Mike.
Oh, no doubt about it. And of course, ultimately it comes down to the guys and their boats and their ability to get them on the water and go racing, regardless of what the organizational structural problems have been. We've had those in the past. We've had our ups and downs in this sport overall. It's a lifetime, and still looking for that magic city, I suppose, where everything is just bliss and all the money's always there, and there's 20 boats in the pits, and they're all well-heeled and well-sponsored. Those days are still to come, I'm afraid, but under the circumstances, we've managed to continue to put on some awfully dandy shows, I think, this year, despite all of the ups and downs that the Commission has had.
All right, coming up on 1 minute now to the start of the provisional, and now these boats are going to start getting themselves into position.
I think the guy with the most motivation, I think, Scotty, you put your finger on it, is Mitch Evans. He wants to make sure that this boat gets into the final heat. Even though only once, back in 1993, has a boat ever won from the provisional position or trailer position. That was down in San Diego, and it was the Frosted Flakes, Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. Mike Hansen was the one who pulled it off, but that was because of a lot of carnage with the front line starters. Notwithstanding, though, getting into the final is what it's all about. That way you at least get a paycheck, and that's what they're working for.
Yeah, they're still running fairly early. They're still coming around the corner here. They're going to be fairly early in this deal.
Hansen's going to go wide, take up all of the outside perimeter of the race course to see if he can't come down with a head of steam, because he knows that's what it's going to take to beat the Geronimo, which will take the inside lane. Lane 2 is going to be the Graham Trucking. Lane 3, the Freddy's Club. And here comes Mike Hansen in the line. He may be too soon.
He's pushing it hard.
Backed off. I think he's over too soon.
I think he's legal, Mike. I really do.
Do you?
Yeah, I have a pretty good view.
Yeah, Lucille's giving me the okay, so I think he is too now. And through the corner, Mike Hansen with a head of steam, although he lost a bunch of it because he backed off just a little bit to get to the turn, but now he's passed on the inside by the Appian Geronimo. Mike Hansen on the outside has got some boat speed, and he's carrying a large race course there, but he does have some speed as he comes alongside the Appian Geronimo. But here's some additional beams shown by the purple and white.
Well, the Appian should clearly have enough speed to be able to maintain this. What he's going to probably try to do is just run hard enough to win and not hard enough to cause any more damage, because that is the right side, and when you turn, that's the side that's taking the pounding.
It is indeed, and it comes out of the corner wide and takes Mike Hansen very wide to the beach. In third place, it's the Allison boat, still holding off the Freddy's Club, is Mike Weber in the... well, now he isn't any longer. Finally, Mark Webber gets by, Tate gets by Mike Webber, rather, and squeezes off into third position. Appian, your leader, out of turn number 1 for the second time.
Well, Tate's staying real wide. I'm kind of surprised at this tactic. That's where he was when he got himself in trouble the last heat, and I'm kind of surprised at that, but hopefully this is good news for Jerry Rice and the Appian people. Had a tough day. This should pump them up a little bit.
I think Tate just doesn't want to launch off of any rollers because he doesn't have any way of getting it back down again at all.
Yeah, but he's used to that.
Out of the second turn now, Appian Geronimo very wide. He's trying to keep the boat out of the holes and out of the peaks and valleys there to keep it as soft as possible on that right side. Comes down to the start-finish line. Not exactly screaming, but he's got a nice solid lead, 130.857. Nisco Bowling in second place comes across the line at 125.841. The Freddy's Club across the line at 125.250. So he's hanging in there.
You know, this is a funny race for a driver, because you have to go out and win. It's your only chance. And then what have you won? You've won a chance to start 15 seconds behind 6 of the world's fastest boats and run into the first turn at a 20-foot wall of water. Yahoo! I won my chance.
Alan, since you state it that way.
That's what it's all about.
The end of the corner for the last time, and the chance to win all those wonderful prizes that Johnny Olson just told you about. Here comes the Appian Geronimo. One last half straightaway to go, and Mitch Evans is going to find himself in the final behind all that action. But at least he's there. He might have been on the beach for that. So across the line goes the Appian Geronimo, winner of the provisional, and a right to go to the final. Second place, it's the Nisco Bowling. Third place, it's the Freddy's Club across the line. And about to finish the heat will be the Graham Trucking, rounding turn number 2 for the last time. And the last time we will hear the roar of a piston engine on Lake Washington in 1999. Here it comes. Except, of course, for an occasional visit by an antique boat. Here comes the Graham Trucking across the line.
You know, Michael, I really do like the ride of Jim Harvey's Freddy's Club, though. I think, given some time in that boat and maybe some work on propellers, that boat has a very, very nice ride, and hopefully later in the year he can do something with it.
Well, as you know, it was a 2-wing boat. They made the conversion to a conventional pickle fork. In other words, a contiguous bottom from the ram-wing leading edge all the way to the transom. And that's changed the whole thing. It's like a brand new boat, and they're still sorting it out.
The Appian Geronimo is heading in toward the pits now. They'll have some time, John Walters and company, to get that boat ready for the final as he'll go in the trailer. Let's go to Bill Wixie in the Appian pits.
talking to Tim Ramsey here of the Appian crew. You got to be pleased. You get a shot in the final.
Yeah, we sure are. We're real pleased. You know, the Appian sponsorship and Jerry Rise, our owner, and John Walters and the whole team has worked incredibly hard to try and get this boat up to speed and hopefully make it faster every time we've run it. The setback in the second heat obviously cost us some. We were able to finish, of course, and then throw the patches on it. So affectionately, we now nicknamed the Geronimo the Tin Man. But the Tin Man seems to be doing real well so far.
Well, the Tin Man hopefully can do the job in the final. Do you think it has a chance against these boats? You get a little bit of a penalty to start with.
Well, we do. We have to start in the back of the pack a few seconds later than they do. But essentially, going into the final, we've got some things going for us in our favor. We got a relatively inexperienced driver, at least the speeds that he's driving at in the Pico right now, and Greg Hopp. To me, think the world of him, and we're all part of the Leland package, and Greg is doing a great job, but a little bit of inexperience at the speeds that he's driving at. Hopefully that'll work out to our favor. With Budweiser, what can you say about those guys? I mean, they're tough. I mean, they've been around a long time. They've got all their nickels in the right spots, and they know how to get the job done. So it's going to be a tough final heat, but hopefully the brakes will fall our way, and we'll be able to get the job done.
The Appian earns a spot in the final. Back to you.
All right, Bill. The Tin Man looking to go over the rainbow here and maybe find something nice here in the Emerald City. Back with more racing, and soon to come, the finals of the General Motors Cup.
The provisional heat has been brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers.
Here's your winner of the provisional heat, the Appian Geronimo, with Mitch Evans at the controls and bouncing along, but a fairly smooth ride, and picks up a win. And there is the damage, by the way, to the right rear of that boat, but it held together. Let's find out from Bill Wixie just how well it held together. Bill?
Oh boy, I'll tell you what, with all this repair, the work that they've done tonight, the boat's carrying about 400 extra pounds than it was before. But Mitch, hey, you get a ride in the final. That's good.
Yeah, the guys really worked hard today, and it's a tribute to them, because without them, I certainly wouldn't be able to go out there and go around. So it's been a lot of fun, and hopefully we can put something together for the final heat.
Well, a provisional winner has won the final. It happened back in 1993. Can you do it today?
Yeah, definitely. We got a good boat. We're going to go out there and give it our best shot, so look for us.
Excellent. Thank you, Mitch.
You bet.
Back upstairs.
Singing the praises of tinfoil, Bondo, and a little bit of glue and duct tape. And that boat will be back out there, again, starting, 15 lengths back, Scotty?
15 boat lengths back, and boy, it's a rough, I've had to do that before, I'm ashamed to admit, and it is one rough deal when you get to that first turn. But Mitch is a charger, he's got the heart of a lion, and he'll be looking for people that have trouble. He doesn't really get into the paying position. It's 1 through 6, so he's got to pass somebody.
That's right, he has to do that. The amazing thing is we were looking at the antique boats a little bit ago, and had that been damage to one of them, that would have been the end of at least 3 or 4 weeks of racing. Go back to the shop and tear it apart and rebuild the side of a boat. But the materials that we use today, the synthetics, make it possible for you actually to put a patch on that'll hold, and within a week back in the shop, that thing's back up and running again. Yeah.
We've been watching pictures now along the shore and out on the log boom, and like I said, nobody's left. They know that there's still boat racing to come. They're still having fun. There are so many people so surprised that we've had such a lovely day out here today. Meantime, we've got the presentation stage for the provisional.
And all types of cargo to maintain operating bases.
Go ahead. Hello, I'm Ken Wexelberger with General Motors, and on behalf of Pontiac General Motors trucks, I'd like to congratulate Mitch Evans and the Appian Geronimo team for a wonderful win in this provisional heat. Mitch?
All right. Well, thanks a lot. I too would like to thank GM and everybody it takes to put this race on. Without them, I wouldn't be here today, and I have to attribute to my crew today. We had a little bit of a rough time, but we patched the thing up, and we're ready to go for the final. So thanks again.
Go for it.
All right. Thank you.